What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be giving you 10 watercolor portrait tips while I'm painting Harley Quinn, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get into these 10 watercolor portrait tips. The first tip is base your shadows. Basing your shadows can be very beneficial when preserving your highlights. It can also help you determine what needs to be the darkest darks and what needs to be the lightest lights. The second tip that I have for you is to always do wet on wet whenever you're painting skin tones. As you can see, I did not do that whenever I was putting up another layer, and it caused me some issues. So always do the wet on wet whenever you're doing skin, because the water will help the pigment naturally blend rather than you having to do all the work and blend it out yourself. It's a lot easier in the long run. So the third tip is going to be to paint in layers. If you try not to paint in layers with watercolor, it can be very problematic. You'll end up with muddy colors and the painting just won't look as vibrant. All the colors will look muted, and unless that's the look you're going for, it's not going to look good. The fourth tip is preserve highlights. Like I said before, you want to preserve those highlights so you can actually get the skin tone the way that it's supposed to look. If you don't preserve the highlights, your lightest lights will look too dark, and then it will just be a bad time. You're gonna have a bad time. That's basically it. I just briefly want to interrupt the video to let you guys know that this video is brought to you by my Patreon page, and big thanks to Dwayne Franson for being my first patron. This video would not be possible without the support from you guys, and I really appreciate it. We have 4 tiers for that. The first tier is the friend tier, which is $5. For $5 a month, you can get exclusive access to progress posts, and you get a specific Discord role in my Discord, which is in the link in the description down below. And there's a up to $100 tier, which you get a commission of your choice, and also some other goodies too. So be sure to check that out in the description down below, and let's get back to the video. And tip number 5, you don't have to worry about going outside of the lines on places like the lips and the eyebrows and the hair when you're painting the skin tones. So if you go outside the lines, that's fine. You can always go over that with a darker tone, unless your hair is lighter than your skin, which is not normally the case. So always make sure that you're staying in the lines in the places that you need to stay in the lines, so like around the eyes and whenever you're painting the lips, you want to make sure that you don't get anything on the teeth if you have teeth in your painting. So the outside edges of the painting, like the bottom of Harley's chin right here, where it's kind of against the background, you want to make sure that you don't go out of lines there in case you want to have a lighter background whenever you get to the background stage. I've already showed this a little bit in the time lapse here, but tip number 6 is to wet on dry the eyes, lashes, brows, nostrils, and lips. You want to make sure that you use the wet on dry technique for those, so you can get the sharp edges in the eyes and preserve the highlights in the eyes. And also the eyelashes are very thin, and if you do wet on wet with those, the colors are going to blend out and it's not going to look as nice. So whenever you do that, just make sure that you use the wet on dry. For the nostrils, you want to make sure you use wet on dry because those are the deepest shadows in the nose area, and you want to make sure that they are as dark as they need to be, because if they're too light, the nose will fall out of the face. Tip number 7, you don't want to overwork your painting. If you overwork your painting, the colors will get muddy and it'll look like you spent 10 minutes on it rather than 4 hours. Tip number 8 is brush size matters. I know a lot of people say that size doesn't matter, but whenever you're painting the face and stuff like that, whenever you're laying that initial wash of water, clean water down, you want to make sure that you're using a very large brush to do that, so that way you don't get these small little pockets of dry paper, and that can cause textural issues with your skin tones, and it can also cause problems with the hair and other things like that. You'll have highlights in places that you don't want the highlights to be. Largest brush, you want to make sure that you're filling out the large spaces of color. As for the smaller brushes, you want to make sure you use those smaller brushes for the very, very thin lines like the eyelashes and the little fine hairs on the eyebrows and the little fine hairs coming out of the actual hair. So just keep in mind that brush size matters. Another one, tip number 9, is to use or mix your own black. Black is in everything, so if you don't use black, your colors will look too light. The black can actually help build contrast too, and if you have that nice contrast like you see in her eyes and under her neck, I used a little bit of black on under her neck so it would have a nice shadow. And you want to make sure that whenever you're using your black or mixing your own black, you're mixing it to the proper shade every single time. And it's okay to stray away from your references, because the reference is not going to be exactly the same as your painting. Unless you're doing photorealism, then it's going to be fine. So like I said, it's okay to stray away from the reference. And as a bonus tip, you can always swatch yourself. So the reason why you swatch yourself is so you can know which colors you're putting down before you put them down, so that way you don't have any mixed tones where it's not complementary or something along those lines. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, share, subscribe, or drop a comment in the comments down below. I really enjoyed painting this Harley Quinn. It gave me a lot to think about when doing more portraits and how I should approach them. So if you got some value out of this video, you are welcome to watch more of my videos here, and you can also see some more tips here.